Sorry, guys. All right, so we're live. Perfect. So we're live both on my business page and on Feminine Fire Society. There might be some people logging in. That's fine. So we're just going to take a minute to kind of zone in. Just get into the zone.
Usual technology.
Yeah.
Stuff, though not quite as I'm not quite as stressed today. Talk around technology.
Yeah. It always anyway, like the trick is to just manage to keep centered whilst there's so many things happening around us. So we're happy to be here again. So for the people that have been following us for the last 2 weeks, today we're in week 3. So the first week we gave an introduction. Kay gave us an introduction about the energy fields and showed us the graph. And there was a link shared where you could click into her page and do the personality traits to find out what energy field you were most prominent and where you were weaker at.
Yes, so go to Peace Through Compassion ATO Vision to download the graphs and tick off what applies to you and what doesn't apply to you during this talk, and also during anything else you're talking or looking at, because that will help you identify and make distinctions around what stuff is doing. And today we're going to go from that into this graph, which shows how we relate the personal fields to the global fields.
Yeah, don't worry if you can't read the wording, because she's going to get into it. You're going to get into it.
Yeah, I'll go into it a bit more, but it is helpful if
sure. So we were saying, so the first interview was all about giving you the foundation, and that Kay explained pretty well. And the second part was all about the feminism, spirituality, the misconception of spirituality, and the connection with the tribal, and what connection femininity has with the tribal connections.
Yes,
I think that was right. Yeah. And today we're going to be giving a little preview of that, just so, because it's kind of like a trail that Kay is going to be leading us into, and I'll be coming in and sharing how the way that, you know, through my gift and my sort of healing, how that kind of comes into play with connecting. Oh yeah, the energy field. So today we're going to be talking about how we can move through resistance and allow the energy fields to work through us. Because if we have resistance, we're not really allowing this life force to work through us. So we're going to go. We're going to be moving into that topic, and then we're going to be moving from there into the topic of codependency, and how it's not seen. It's seen as an illness, but it's not an illness. It's more a disconnection of from the energy, certain energy fields where the
so if we haven't opened those fields in ourselves, we start to look for that energy and that consciousness through other people. So it's really good to identify what you need from other people and see where you can get it from yourself, and open up that energy within yourself. So,
with awareness. So it's all about, that's why it's so important to be aware of these things, because when we see them, it's kind of like having a vision in front of you. You see the disconnection, and then you allow space. So remember that every time there is resistance, or we're triggered, that the trigger is like a sign of resistance coming through the body. So whenever there's resistance, just imagine it like a wall. So we're not really, or like a barrier, we're not really allowing this life force to work through us.
Well said, that's right.
Yeah. Yes. And that keeps us disconnected, segregated, isolated, and this is, you know, this is what brings us to the extremity that we see a lot with illnesses on the planet, right? And disconnection from Mother Earth as well. So let's start, Kay, with giving a review about femininity and the tribal connection and the misconception with spirituality.
Right, can we do this in 1 sentence?
I'll just pour some tea whilst you.
So first off, looking at these fields separately. So if we are male, we're generally coming from this field and activating this field. If we are female, we generally, society pushes us to activate these fields. So we're caught up in our own little paradigms. So maturing, we get to where we have difficulty producing energies from the other fields. So, but what's happened with feminism is that women have gone into the predominantly male fields, and we need now for men to start going into the female fields and activating those fields within themselves. And why we need this is that because on a larger scale, the world around us is a result of us. We are the creators of this world. So we need to understand what the actions that we take, how they affect the world around us. And so that's really important at this time. And if you understand that all energy has consciousness, by opening up other fields, we're releasing the consciousness within ourselves. So we're becoming more conscious and more whole human beings. The more we can understand other people, the more we accept diversity, and you know, whatever is happening with somebody else, that we just don't say, no, I don't like that, I block it. So what's behind that? What's behind?
It's really a mirror, isn't it, Kay? So
Absolutely.
What Kay just said is just so bang on. So if it helps us to bring this awareness to understand the world, to see what's happening with other people and what's happening around us, that in retrospect, that's going to be a mirror to ourselves as well. So we're only creating space for more expansion within the understanding and the functionality of
So if we're looking to change society, you know, where a lot of people are activating and getting out and protesting. So if we're looking to do that, we've got to start with ourselves, looking at where we are not looking after looking after the environment or caring for the people, caring for a community. And so, like just recently, I read a report about the Warwick University, where a girl was at her friend's house, and she happened to see some really disrespectful stuff come up on the computer from the boys who were studying the same course with her. They were her friends, and they were talking about raping women. And this was just their guys kind of talk. And her friend came back in the room, and she questioned him about it. He said, look, that's just guy stuff. You know, so this is stuff like you've got going on in the United States with Brett Kavanaugh. So, you know, Donald Trump, lots of issues going on around male dominance and controlling women's bodies. So, which starts very young. It's a very, you know, these people didn't just come from nowhere. There's part of the society, it's part of the schooling system.
They're inflicting it, they're reinforcing it, but then having the disconnection from the feminine field, which is not what society promotes.
Yeah, so that's the point I'm making is where that is leading us. Yeah. So these people are growing up. Yeah. You know, we look at it, they're running America. Yeah. This type of mentality is running America. So you'd have to ask, well, how does that affect the environment? Mm-hmm. Well, we see how it's affecting the environment. You know, so we've got the male energies coming here. So we have Western medicine, mm-hmm. we have Western rulemaking. I did do another one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and so right now, you know, if we go from there and look at this graph on the left, where we have the environment as opposed to technology, rather than working together, the environment is suffering. Because of technology. Mm-hmm. So if we're starting with abusing women, it leads on to abusing the environment, having no empathy with our environment. It leads on to having too much medical intervention rather than natural remedies. So the natural remedies are pushed aside mm-hmm. for technology and for science and pills, where there's over 100,000 people die directly from medication.
Absolutely, we see it all around.
So this has come from the American Medical Association, those figures. So if that's what they're saying, there's other people saying that it's actually a lot more. Mm-hmm. So it's a direct cause of medication that's not going well in our body. Mm-hmm. So this comes from this belief that we've got to dominate things and control things rather than allowing our body to have its natural healing, recover in its own time, which most people do recover from an illness in their own time without any intervention. And so you have all these factors that come from the decisions people are making from misguided and only half the information that they are able to have. So
authorities are making the decisions for everyone because they're the ones dominating and in control.
Journalistic look at how we heal, and but we have Indigenous people who have natural products. We have all that Indigenous wisdom which could come into mainstream medicine. We could be healing with greater ease, which takes a lot of pressure off people financially. You look at the financial system; it's focused on a hierarchy and who can get the most money. So we've got CEOs taking multiple millions in bonuses while people are being laid off. So there's just this really top-heavy paradigm we are in, which men suffer from and women suffer from also. There are very few people who win in this society or in this paradigm or in this system. So it's looking at what else we can bring forward that adds to it. So it's not getting rid of it. I think capitalism is a great system, but it must have safety nets, and this is where people are looking at universal income and things.
And having the priorities straight when it comes to capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, we're designed to create and do better, and I think we can't take that away from people. So that lower male field, that paradigm is great if it's connected with the whole, with the rest of the paradigm. So it cannot be just isolated. We cannot just live in one paradigm, nor would we want to go and live in that earth female paradigm where we'd sit around being nice to each other and collective, but we also want to be innovative and we want to create. So they both matter. And so having them in balance would bring us to the higher realms as well, where we'd be more inclined to bring those in and not control spirituality, for instance. We'd be more inclined, which is what is happening on the planet. People are more inclined now to go directly to the spirit, connect with the spirit, rather than go through a religion.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying is, Kay, what you're sharing with us is the importance of actually allowing these four fields to integrate into our psyche, for us to be open to receiving these natural energy fields that are there. It's just a matter of preparing our vessel, our body, to receive them, and that comes through awareness. So being aware, first of all, through having these conversations, knowing what's happening. Behind what meets the eye. And once we have this awareness, we allow our body to be alive. So we allow this life force. In order to allow our body to be our friend, to communicate with us, we must be able to listen to it, to connect to our intuition, and we must take radical responsibility and know what we are feeding it, how we are treating it. Are we listening to the emotions that are coming up? And that's all kind of activated when the heart chakra is open. And through yoga, through stillness, we allow these channels of our body. We have channels in our body that we can work with, that we can open up and allow the energy that is stagnant to kind of move through it. And it's a healing process that takes a natural course, doesn't it?
It does. It takes commitment. And if you think that, the idea that we come from nothing, we exist in nothing, and we come into form. So how do we do that? We consciousness. We exist. We are one consciousness, which I truly believe and know. We are the one consciousness who has decided to see what is not love. As I say it, we've come into form. So how have we done that? We've done that through energy. So consciousness rides in energy. So if our energy is blocked, then the consciousness is blocked. So we cannot bypass this. So we're not going into female energy fields to become female as such in form. We've come into that to release the consciousness. So every time you step further into that, you are releasing the consciousness. You know, you go into a forest, you're connecting with that consciousness. So I've got to go and cut the consciousness down. Well, you know, what are we saying to the planet?
It's like, and this is why the people are, you know, we see the connection, the morbid connection with like the material world, because being so connected with the material world, or being led by fear through, you know, the connection that humanity has with the material world, it stops you from allowing sort of that level to come through.
And again, coming from that nothingness into something, if we think of it in terms of Kundalini, or you know, our energy is coming down our spine, that is action. We're taking action in the world. The female energy, as I see it, holds us to time. So we're coming down. As the action happens, the connection happens, the protection, if you like, which I call the female energy. But what happens is it comes down. So we keep going, we keep creating. Whatever we are creating in our life is holding us to our life. So the more we stick to an ideology, the more we're creating within that ideology and in that form. So we need to open that up and allow ourselves to be drawn back up again. So the less we can have of an ideology, even of the thinking that we're male or female.
Neutral.
Yeah. Well, just being open to all.
But any extremity is a sign of
anything
imbalance.
We're resisting. Anything
resisting,
we're not opening the consciousness of that. We're not opening to the consciousness of whatever it is we are resisting. So we have an enemy. You know, this is a reflection of something that's going on in our own energy field, in our own consciousness. So the more, you know, we can do it from within ourselves, or we can do it from quite literally that person in front of us, and give them love, send love to them in your own heart. It doesn't mean we get beaten up or do anything. We keep ourselves safe, but at the same time, that is the form, what's going on with the form.
Also, Kay, here comes in the overdoing. This is where you exhaust your life force, because you are not allowing yourself to be connected to the mother energy, and that is born from and awakened from the Kundalini, from the base chakra. So the overdoing, which is related to the earth male, everything to do with man world, alpha male, Western men, action, mind, logic, science, technology, physical rewards, self-interest. That's when you exhaust your natural resource of life force.
Without balance, if it's not balanced within those other fields, everything is valid. Whatever is coming up, whatever we are, is all valid. But it's about opening it to other aspects.
Yes, and then to compensate, what happens is that you rape femininity. So you rape, you strip, you over-abuse, you overindulge in the feminine aspect, the femininity, which is the earthly female, and that's all to do with the woman world, sharing, alignment, the indigenous cultures, stillness, nourishing the heart, body, mind, spirit connection, natural environment, physical awareness, community wellness. So if there's overindulgence in those, that means that you are seeking outside of yourself to recompensate for what is lacking.
That's right. We're pulling those things, sucking energy.
And that comes as a form, and that comes as a form of abuse and violence as well.
Absolutely. Good people, good children, men, women, who suffer. Everything suffers through that. So it's about reversing those cycles through awareness.
And consciousness. And I always talk about radical responsibility and commitment, because once we find a ritual or something that we can apply, because I don't believe in strict rules, you know, there's only one way to do something. It's important that you explore, that you allow yourself to use your creative channel to explore what actually works for you. And then you allow that energy to work through your body, so that it's coming from your own, you know, life force. It's not something that's been like imposed onto you. People are just so used to being dictated upon and being told what to do. So if you don't have that forceful way of being told that you need to do something, it's kind of like it doesn't really sink in. But I guess this is also an invitation to just for you to see that.
And there's that aspect of whatever is happening around you, you need not let it affect you, and is to be, or even in the darkest of times, if you're suicidal, if you're really feeling down about whatever's going on around you, there is to find that space, that little spark of light within yourself. And that is the most important thing to do, is to hold that within yourself. That is concentrating, just being deeply within that, because that is the most powerful thing. And as that grows within you, then you're changing from within yourself. That light is coming from within you. We all have it. Every person on the planet has it, and it's just simply a matter of finding it and finding the way that feels safe for you to find that. And so even in the darkest of times, and I tell the story about the man at the edge of the pit, a Jewish man and a German soldier holding a gun to his head. The soldier said to the man, what have you got good to say now, old man? Now I'm going to shoot you and throw you in the pit. And the old man turned around and he said, I'm glad I'm not you. So this is really, wow. I just love that story.
Did he end up shooting him?
Yeah, he died.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he got. I think so. I'm not actually quite sure, quite honestly. But that man, even in his circumstances, did not give in to the darkness. He understood the light in himself.
Wow.
And he really understood what he didn't want to be. So I just think it's
that's story. Beautiful. Yes, what a great example that you brought forward. What do I want to? I wanted to share, or you can share, a crucial moment where you heard that whisper, the way that your inner guidance came through to you. Do you want to share that, and then I'll share mine?
Well, honestly, I have so many. And,
just one, and the predominant one that you remember vividly. No, I can share one.
I'm really confused with so many. There's just been amazing times. So you share.
Yeah. So a big one, a time where I literally felt like I sunk. I got back from Italy and I was literally sleeping on the couch of my mum's. No, I think I was sleeping in a caravan. And on the property of my family, got back from Italy, and I was fighting this the autoimmune disease that I had. And I remember that everywhere I went to, like whatever doctor I went to, they were saying that polycystic ovary syndrome is prominent in like 4 out of 6 women. It's very common, and the side effects is that you're not going to be able to have children, that there's nothing that you can do. Like you stay with it, you live with it, or you just take the pill, and we know the damage that the pill does, right, to the body and to the hormones, and that was the only way. And I got my ultrasound done. I used to get scans done, and every single doctor that I went to see, I remember that they would just dismiss it like it was no big deal. But I literally lived with the symptoms of what it felt like to have polycystic ovary syndrome. I literally felt like I was in a vigilant coma. I was like a walking zombie, because we know that when you have a hormonal imbalance, the life force is literally stripped out of you, the light out of your eyes and everything. So my voice came through when I remember saying, it was an energy, it was really strong, and I felt it come from the bottom of my feet. It ran through my body, and it was literally like in my solar plexus, and it was this voice that came through and said, you know what to do. Like, you know your truth, you know the truth, and you know what you need to do to get yourself back, and you are going to get yourself back. So my essence was in me. It was just a matter of me connecting with it, and to just cut off all the declutter, just decluttering and cutting off all the external noise of the opinions that people had, even if it was based on science, because there was no connection with these doctors. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know my background. So I knew that I wanted the Vanessa that, was happy and bubbly. I wanted that Vanessa back. And I was determined. That became my determination of getting it back. And what changed that day was that I lived in conviction. I had to, every decision that I made and everything I did for myself was always moving towards that direction, right? That one way, and committing to it. So a ritual, that's why I always talk about a ritual. A ritual is things that you choose that are important for you in that time that will get you somewhere, say for like a month. and then you commit to that, and you do that like once a day or once a week or whatever, and then you review it, and then you change it based on, and you align it to what is important for you at the time. Yeah.
Oh, that's a terrific example. And I know many times in my life where I've been in that really dark place, I've just got myself from hour to hour. I just quite literally said, look, I'm just going to last the next hour. I give myself, what will I do to make the next hour pleasant? So, you know, these don't have to be big changes. It can just be to when you go to bed at night, commit that you're going to commit to yourself tomorrow, going to wake up and be good to yourself for the next hour. So it can start very, very short. And my own one of the healing experiences I had was with chronic fatigue, where I was told to take pills for the pain and join the chronic fatigue club. And that just sounded like a nightmare to me. So I thought, well, I've got to do something different. And I started going to alternative healing people. Then I became an alternative healer. And then I spent 2 years off and on traveling to gurus and shamans in India, South America, Egypt, just quite a few places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you were exposed to like therapies or natural medicine?
Different teachings, you know, taking stuff in South America and just it was a very, very interesting time. Then coming back doing healing, and then I started like you, I've got voices in my head quite literally to massage a person's hands and feet, and then I started getting the pictures of what was happening. Then I realised they were actually energy fields in the human body. Then I wrote books.
So this comes from you, doesn't it, Kate?
Yeah.
The energy fields, the dual feminine, the dual masculine. This only comes from you. It's not something that you've taken from anywhere else.
No. And so that kept going, and then I realised that these fields exist in society, so this is where this has all come from. And then, of course, I got the golden light to come in my room and take me, and that's where I belong to love and go where love moves me. So it's very much just living in that and realising that the world we live in is an illusion, it's temporary, and we understand that, and that love is
within us.
Love is all that's within us, and it's the energy that we believe, that we think we are, that takes us away from that. So we are that. We don't have to go searching for it. We just have to let everything go that prevents us recognising it. So even the tiniest little bit within you is the most real thing within you, and that is what is so important.
That's what connects us. I'm just getting really emotional as you're talking. And that's the energy that connects all of us.
It does.
Yeah. And that it helps to shift and to allow these energy fields also to play its role.
That we're perfectly divine individuals, and just everything else is what's not real.
You know, something that I work a lot with imagery as well. When I find myself in a moment where I'm like stuck or I'm triggered or I notice there's massive resistance coming up, I just stop and I envision. I'm sure a lot of people have seen Avatar. Have you seen Avatar? So what I do is, what comes to me are these images of just being in the world of Avatar, and how, I don't know, is it true that, I mean, there was still a male and a female.
Quite frankly, I can't remember it.
You can't remember it?
I can't.
So there was a male and a female, but they were very much in synchronicity, and they were very connected to nature and to each other and to themselves, and they were very strong. And so I just get this vision of being in a world where we are just so connected with one another and with nature. And then that's when I bring myself into that vision that I have, I feel it, I embody it, and all the gunk and all the rest and all the chaos, everything just kind of melts off me. So it's not a matter of, I don't try to find meaning through intellectualizing what's going on around me. Rather, I use my vision, which is my third eye, and this is what you can open up as well through the energy work that, you know, you can do with me, or you can do in other ways. Just be careful who you go to. to open up your visionary channel, your third eye, and that allows you to, you can export yourself. You can export yourself in a place, because all of that is in our DNA. It's in our cellular memory. It's all within us. So it's just a matter of tuning into it, envisioning it, and then really feeling into that you are in that space, and then everything around you has no control over you.
Yeah, really interesting. When I went to see Lord of the Rings, I went with my family many years ago, and I sat there, I just couldn't believe it. It was like the pictures I get of the inner child working down through the energy fields, coming into the female fields. This is what it was for me. It was like I was doing, it was like he read about energy fields, and then he wrote a book talking about the inner child, going past the orgs, doing all the stuff, coming down into that earth male energy field. And like it was like our consciousness moving through. So if you want to re-watch Lord of the Rings with, where are we? With this in front of you, it will just, you'll find it absolutely fascinating.
Where can I find that?
On the Peace Through Compassion website.
The chart. The qualities of the energy fields.
And also, I mentioned that in my first book, Structure of Energy Healing, that which introduces the energy healing and how I found it, and just shows different things. But it was just amazing. I thought, oh my God, this is really interesting.
You connected the dots, and you could see how the person that wrote the book, they saw the energy fields, and they.
Oh yes.
Well, half of humanity is probably awakened by now.
Well,
everyone's
this is some of our
the
greatest stories that what we recognise. They're so fantastic to us because we recognise that in ourselves. We recognise that that's the journey we're taking. So it's very symbolic, and this is why it's fantastic to take a chart, whatever you're doing, you tick off where it went, and you actually begin to make real distinctions on what's happening.
I've got goosebumps. I think I'm going to watch that movie tonight.
But don't forget to have your chart.
Yeah. And how many series are there?
Oh, it's quite a few, because they went on to more, but especially the first one.
The first one's always the best, though.
Yeah. It was just an interesting analogy. Yeah.
So he talks, you picked up the masculine, the divine masculine, which is what's been cut out.
It's a Frodo. Frodo leaves his little town and travels the world. Well, first he comes down, he's his consciousness coming down into this world, and all sorts of trials and tribulations, and then he comes through, but he meets the Queen, and he's coming in through that female energy, and she's helping him find the ring. And so that ring, just what is the ring? Where are we? Where are we? It's our oneness. Even if you look at the cross, I don't deliberately do that, but you've got the cross down there, and what have you got? The 4 quarters. And we're bringing them together. There's symbology everywhere. And it's just amazing. It's amazing, when we understand it, it's really, you can just see it very clearly in a lot of places.
The ring of oneness, it brings all of consciousness in one.
We are one. We are one consciousness. The only thing that separates us is our energy fields, is the vehicle. Energy is the vehicle through which we come here and create. So if we're going to go into separate, we're going to be separate. We come back to consciousness, releasing the energy. Then we come back to wholeness and oneness.
So whenever you find yourself nagging about someone else or bitching about someone, the greatest thing to do is to put a mirror, to use a mirror and to see what part of me is triggered from that behavior, and what is it in me that I am rejecting by judging this person.
Sure, so I may feel the anger. I do it all the time. Yeah. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we and it's emotions. It's a roadmap, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just always have that aspect of me that is sending them love. So I know that there's a part of me that feels the anger, and I feel it, or I might feel needy, I might feel happy, I might feel all sorts of things. But beyond that, there is a stillness and a being that I am connected with that person, in some way.
That's
It's just
beautiful.
bringing back to my feelings. I'm having a feeling now. So it doesn't mean I have to act on anger. Doesn't mean I have to go to war. You know, I can just feel how I feel. And
still be active in the heart, and send out love. And what about the people that are blocked in the heart? What do you
know? Well, it's, you know, the fascinating thing.
What do you say about that?
What I learned when I was doing energy healing, if we're working on the right foot, which is often the woman's male partner, and vice versa, if I work on a man's left foot, it reflects his what's going on with his field. But what I found when I worked on the earth male and that person, never once did this work break up a marriage. Many, many times, to my knowledge, but many times, the marriage improved after working with one of the partners. Because you're actually working on their energy as well.
So you said it was the left foot? Or the
left foot.
Left foot.
For woman, if I work on her right foot, that is the how she takes action in the world.
The masculine.
It reflects her connection with men, with male. So she might be stuck in concrete, meaning that she can't move forward in life. One woman, I saw these men skiing down this big slope. She said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what happens to the men in my life. They come and they go, you know." So very simple stuff that people recognise. And so for men, if I work on their left foot, it is the feminine, and so I get what's happening to the feminine on their side. So the feminine could be like Cinderella, and this is with men or women, it still can be the same, but it just shows the opposite. But what happens is I find marriages improve.
I think you said something about Cinderella.
So I might see an image of Cinderella. I see in Cinderella.
Sometimes the man overworking, is that the man like slaving?
No, the one that comes to mind was actually in a woman's field. That's how she saw herself. You know, so it's like, oh my God, you know,
staying at home, cleaning,
go and do something nourishing for yourself. So that's her in the world. This here is her power in the world. So I might see, and I always see this with wings, and the wings might be like a broken umbrella, and as I work, the wings will.
I had a session with you, remember? Was it 2 years ago? Before I went to Italy.
Yeah.
And what did you see? I think broken wings. Do you remember that?
I think I do. Yeah.
I think you said to me that you saw my broken wings, and I felt like I was going to Italy to connect with my father. A lot of women that have that grew up without a father that wasn't present, or that had conflict or whatever, they tend to be very segregated or separate from the earthly male energies, or not?
Oh, well, it's a combination of things, but also a woman disempowered is like a particularly like a battered woman. They really got battered. They might have barbed wire around their wings, and you know, so it's very, very,
very symbolic the way you get the messages.
Symbolic, yeah. And so as I massage, I'll see the pictures change, and the wings will grow. And, you know,
so the healing is
so beautiful. Hands. Yeah, it's so beautiful to watch. You know, it's such a gift, and it's such an honour to be with people going through that. Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting, Kay, because I love the way that you express the feminine and the masculine fields. It's interesting because with the kind of energy work that I do as well, you know, we and the people that I've worked with, so the right is always connected to, it's the doing part. And that's why you're always using whatever energy we're working on in our body, we're always using the doing hand, the right hand, which is the masculine, which is responsible for the left brain. And then the right, the right channel is the masculine, responsible for the left brain, yeah. And then the right brain, which is the left body, that's the feminine energy field. So with the kind of energy work that I do with people is we clear, first of all, we use the elements to clear the energy. So whatever storage is there, whatever, you know, emotions that haven't been expressed, the pain that manifests in our body. So first we clear that out of the body, and then we reactivate it, we recharge it, we nourish it with earth elements, and we activate it. So a lot of chakra points can be either overactive or underactive. And in both cases, what is happening is that it manifests as a oh my god, I can't really, how do I explain it? So it comes up as an imbalance or in a personality trait as well. Overgiving, greedy, or an overthinker, depressed. So it's a matter of finding that center. And I think the same concept of the ring and having all these fields together, I see it symbolic of also working on every single energy point so that they're in balance with each other, and you're actually decluttering the energy that is stored, that is waste, basically. And this is why it's also important to work with your body, with the foods, with the energies around you, the way that you respond as well. But it's a combination. It's not only taking care of your health with foods that you eat, but it's actually a combination of bringing awareness of actually engaging. And Marianne Williamson says that, in order to transform, and I posted something about this yesterday, in order for transformation to take place, engagement must happen. So you must engage. What happens a lot of the times, and I've done it on many occasions, is that I isolate myself. Or women or men, we tend to isolate ourselves, thinking that we've got the issue, we can resolve the issue on our own. But in reality, we are just reiterating or reliving old patterns. And we need to, we just have to, bring this awareness so that we can engage.
Yes, and so that's where theory is not enough. It's not enough to read books. It's not enough to just hear or go to a lecture. It's about, as you said, stepping into it and living it in a way, feeling it, committing to it.
Confronting it. If you haven't told a sister or a brother or a mother or a father, the way that you feel, or what you felt, things about your past, why not take that conversation forward? And it could be tricky for a lot of people because we're not all the best communicators. So it can bring things out, but a lot of the times, I did a video on this yesterday, it can create a shitstorm. And but it's not, a lot of the times it's perceived as a negative thing, but it's really allowing the negativity to like come up. It's kind of like a purging process. It's a detoxing process.
Well, it is. It is.
So for us to be strong and courageous, that's where the strength will come in, where we can hold the space for the people that we love and for ourselves. If we can even tell people that we love, please hold the space for me. I need to purge. Can you just listen? Can you just, and please don't take it personal, but it needs to come out. So I think all of this is part of the process of healing. And if we are continuing to be triggered, and if we continue to bring up resistance, we're not really allowing ourselves to go through that natural process of restoration and connection.
Yes, look, I mean, I kind of had a different story where I did stuff on my own, but it reflects on family anyway. They feel it. They certainly felt it, and so
we just need to work
there.
So we can work on ourselves in order, because we are one and we're connected, so our family is actually picking up on
for sure,
on the energies as well, so it's moving things with them. So that's why things can be pretty intense at times in the family, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just shifting everything. So you gave an awesome preview about the feminine, the spirituality, misconception of spirituality, in a way that did kind of fall into the conversation, didn't it?
Sorry,
Misconception. We were going to talk about, just briefly, about the previous talk, which was on the misconception of spirituality, which is not only reading books, right?
Yes.
So we're talking, it's not only just about reading books, it's actually about engagement and bringing awareness to these energy fields that not everybody's aware of.
Acknowledging them, just beginning by start by acknowledging that this energy exists, or validating this person. As I think we mentioned last time about the Me Too. So it's not about, oh my God, I have to go out and save women or anything like that. It's just saying, hey, there is a problem. I acknowledge it. Really acknowledge it.
Just acknowledging it, and again, that's activated from the heart.
And this is, so this is where it's really important to listen and as I said last time, I think it's really important for men to step into that space and So acknowledge and not to stop and push women away and say no, that's not okay, and
or to not overuse them, to not abuse them either, to not rape the feminine field that is lacking in them. It's more about awakening and allowing.
Because
and speaking up. So women, it's about speaking up in a way that is empowering as opposed to.
So time for women to be bold. So that's that spiritual female field.
That's right. Because Kay said that femininity was all about boldness and masculinity, spiritual.
Well, bringing this in. This is a divine protector. This part. This is like women are here, and this is the divine protector. Up here, this is the innocent aspect of the male energy. So, you talk about the war of the genders, and we would think that war is between this field and this field, but it's actually not. The gender war, men against women, is against this field, is against the boldness. Men don't mind, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking about, generally speaking, it's keeping women down. But the reason for keeping women down is to control this field, because that field is the divine protector. So these are both the action fields. This is very much an active field. This is Tara, but she protects the innocent. She protects this. So when this is protected, then this field, Frodo can come down here and be safe and really activate consciousness in these fields. So that's our consciousness.
Vulnerability is the divine masculine, right, Kate?
Absolutely, yeah. So and innocence is there, and so this is what men have got to.
Innocence and divine
masculine.
Divine masculine.
So that's what really matters, and that's
vulnerability.
That's what gets this going. So nothing is going to happen in this change in this world until women can't stand up and start using their boldness. It's no good just leaning in. We need to protect boldness. We need to protect children, protect the environment, and so that is the importance of women right now, because they are the main activators of that earth female field. Many men are in there too, more so than a lot of women sometimes.
I want to say something, Kate. Now, this is something I read in your book and in your article. You said something about how men use the mother, the idea that you have to be a good mother, therefore you need to stay at home. So you become Cinderella, you become the slave. So it's what is used in society is this term, about being a good mother. Therefore, if you are not a good mother, if you're not a slave, perceived as being a slave, then you're not playing your role as you should.
Sure, that's just a fallacy, isn't it?
Yes,
we
it
know
is.
That's a fallacy.
Yes. So what is that? Because there's a lot of guilt that comes up in women. If they are not slaves to their children, they feel so much guilt, and they feel like they're horrific, and that's a big part that men, I think, use against women. You have to stay home because I stay out.
Sure, some men. You've got
yes, some. Of course, not all of them,
right
but
now.
a lot of them do.
Yeah.
They use that against, for a woman to, to feed on the shame and the guilt to oppress them even more.
Sure, and women use that just as much as men
absolutely,
do,
absolutely.
So it's a thing down here in these fields, but in actual fact, women going to work or whatever they're doing, their child is in the hands of somebody just as loving who wants to be there in most cases.
So it doesn't mean, so being a loving mother doesn't mean that you need to be a slave in the house.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
it means that you...
And a housewife at home could be just as bold in this area. So it's not confining, if you are a housewife and a mother, which I was for a long time, and it does not mean that you're not bold, which I wasn't for many years either. But it's just something I learned. So it's a whole nother story.
It is, but I remember I wanted to bring this up because I remember reading it in your article. It was really, I love the way that you expressed it.
Which one?
Feminine Rising.
The metamorphosis of it.
Yeah, because it talked about how women are objectified by the feminine energy that is missing within men. So they use and they abuse the feminine, which is symbolic of, rape that takes place, and also the the environment which is being destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, well, the interesting thing is I had, I think in Soulmate, the book Soulmate or Soul Inmate, I talk about how when I was 4 years old, I gave up. I walked into a room, my father was abusing my mother, and so I decided to leave home. And so I
4 years old.
Yeah, I packed my bag. I wasn't going to live like this, you know.
Yeah.
So I packed my little bag and I was hauling it down the stairs and didn't know
Yeah.
where I was going. But my father called me and he said, "Where do you think you're going?" And I said, "I'm leaving home and you can't stop me." And he said, "You can't run away." I remember the words clearly. "You can't run away from me. I will always find you. I will always catch you." Right? No, I'll always find you. And the thing is, in a positive light, there was that wonderful thing that I knew my father would always find me, because he was that sort of person.
Okay,
he would have,
mm-hmm.
you know, destroyed the earth because he, you know, his child, he would
loved
find it.
you and he would find you.
But this day, this hit like a rock, and I remember making the decision to stay in this household. I had to let whatever it was that was bold and free go. That I knew at 4 years old I was going to be a victim, and the thing that replaced that part of my soul that left was shame. I remember shame coming in on me. This is
because he was blocking you from flourishing, from being in your boldness, from being in your truth.
Yeah. So the point I'm making here is that all of us make a decision at some stage that what happens to us and how we are is because of the decisions we make. And that was a decision I made when I was very, and I mean, this isn't a suppressed memory or anything. I'm very clear about this. I remembered it all my life. And I remembered how I gave up on myself. Yeah. So I didn't.
That was a huge breakthrough for you to recognize that.
Yeah.
As an adult, did it come as an adult? And
no, I just always knew.
You always knew.
I always remembered that. Okay. I never lost that memory. But it was what I was going to have to do too. So we do things in the best of circumstances with people who love you. But my parents had a volatile marriage, and if I was going to survive it, there were things I had to do. So we survive, and we create personalities to survive the situations we're in. So no matter what situation we're in, even if it's a really good one, there are things in decisions we make within ourselves to decide to live within that family environment. And so that...
Yeah. Sorry, just I wanted to intervene and just share something personal.
Sure.
So for me, it was about in order to accept that I had like a male figure, like a father, a protector in a way, was that I was always going to be needing something that was outside of myself to be complete. And that was my father, who was on the other side of the world. And yeah, so that was my way of it's very interesting how we can we make these links.
And it's great to have that awareness.
It is.
As children, we want to think our parents are perfect, but our parents are imperfect, and we're just passing on, which I've passed on to my children as well, you know. So they can turn around and say the same thing to me on different things, which they have done. So it's very, very interesting. And we're all humans learning.
It all comes down to exception, to acceptance, doesn't it? Just accepting. That's why when you're on the path of perfectionism and expecting everything to be perfect, coming from us and from others, we're really destroying ourselves, because we can't really. How can we live up to perfection when we are human and we need to go through these processes?
Well, we do things like watch the Boltons and things like that, which give us a really warped perception of what we think life is, and I'm sure it is like that for many people, but for many more it's not.
So, Kay, I wanted to ask you about codependency briefly, just to kind of touch on that some more before we end the interview. So you mentioned that codependency is not an illness. It's not an illness, but it's definitely like a disconnection from the field, the feminine field, the earthly feminine field, which comes up we can see through tribes, the way that people used to live back in the day, through communities. So with codependency, how can we, in your opinion, shift from knowing that someone is codependent of you, or that you are codependent of someone else, as you are allowing yourself to move through the process of growth and healing, besides, holding awareness to it?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really, in my experience, it doesn't have to be negative even. If you're both willing to look at what is happening and work on that and understand it, can be a wonderful way to grow together.
Really, communication and shifting our perception of what it is.
Well, I think if you're talking about people in a relationship and want to stay in that relationship,
in general,
obviously
so
you've got people who are working on the negative aspect, and they're probably not going to grow. And if one of them won't grow, then I suggest that other person get out of the relationship, because it's blocking them. Block war. But if that other person is willing to grow, well, that can be an absolutely wonderful experience.
So both people have to be open.
Well, I think so. It's difficult to stay if you
if you're not accepted, and if you don't allow that.
This entirely depends on the individual, and often we'll stay as long as we're not getting the lesson. Why do women go back? Why do women keep going back? Because quite often they see the boy, they see the vulnerable man, they know who is really a lovely person inside, but if that person is going to stay in that abusive way, then it is not going to work. So you've got to care for yourself, care for your children, and get out of that relationship.
So make sure that you are in a good environment.
Absolutely.
In a safe environment.
Absolutely. And likewise, if a man is being abused and treated badly by his partner, why should he stay if he's not?
So really standing up for what we feel and what we know is right for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, right. Absolutely. I mean, it's a big question, and don't feel that qualified to answer it. It's just that's very personal on someone's growth, and lots of variables.
A lot of factors, that take place.
But my thoughts on that is to go with people who are helping you grow, and sometimes negative situations do help you grow. So not against that per se. Anger's not bad. Sometimes people are just angry. So maybe you got to look at it. We've got to look at ourselves. Is that valid? Is what's being said valid? Do I need to change something? Should I be more responsible, more respective rather to somebody? So there's a lot of stuff.
That we can talk for hours. Yeah. So thank you, Kay. I think you've covered, we both have covered the topics that we mentioned quite extensively. Health, environment, relationships. Yeah, so we've covered all of that, and we gave a preview, and we also introduced the new topics that we said we would. So thank you for joining us, and if you have any questions, I encourage you to come forward again, ask the questions to Kay, either to Kay, to me, Vanessa. Remember, I work with vibrational language, so it's all about using language to help you, to lift you to the frequency of love at 528, which is the highest vibration of all. So when we are operating from a frequency of love, we are then able to allow these fields, these energy fields, to merge and to work together. So we're and we are then healing ourselves, and also allowing healing to take place away from us, like people around us. Yeah. So vibrational language and also movement. Remember, the way that we are moving our body, we are allowing breath to work through our body. So breath is a symbol of life.
Breath is life. Yes.
Breath is life. So if we are moving and allowing our body to open up channels in our body, allowing breath, we're oxidizing our body through breath. We are then able to release the tension, release the stored energy that our body no longer needs. So get in contact with me if you do want to know more about how I work with you one-on-one. There is a course coming up, and thank you so much, Kay, for joining us today to share your wisdom.
Thank you. Sharing your wisdom and beautiful work.
Thank you so much, Kay. And at this stage, we don't know if we're going to be continuing on with the interviews, but we'll have a conversation and we'll keep you updated in our Facebook business pages and our groups as well. Okay?
Lovely.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you very much, people.
Oh, lovely.
Ending this one as well. Hi Yvonne, hi Therese. We just saw you now online in the group. We just had the is somebody still online? I just had the screen of the business page. But if you have any questions, love, whoever's on now, just come forward and then we'll get back to you. Thank you, bye. All the messages are coming through now. Hang on, I'm going to read the messages before I stop the video. I should have done this before actually, okay? So let me just read them. Therese Rose, I feel that sharing stories are vital in healing. Codependent is so interesting, lots of grey areas. When someone makes one mistake and then has an awakening, staying in a safe and good environment. This is for mental and physical aspects. So deep, Therese is saying. And then she says, you are both such beautiful souls. Thank you for your knowledge. Oh, thank you so much, Therese. We really appreciate you for following and for being open to receiving this wisdom as well. Do you want to share anything else, Kay, with whoever's online or with Therese?
I think there's any questions here.
Not really, but based on what she's shared, I guess it was just.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Love to you. See you soon.